Let me talk about Enterprise USA. Enterprise USA is, we need to look at the USA as the citizens' business. This country is our business. It's a shared venture. It's a shared venture between the government, between the private sector, the nonprofit sector, and us as citizens. It's a shared venture. It's not government's problem. It's not private sector's problem. It's our problem, and until we can figure out that we together have to work on this, we're making it a problem that will become insurmountable. So that's why I think that the shared venture concept's important. And as important at the top of the list is when we talk about budget deficit, we need to eliminate the budget deficit, and we need to look at debt. But we can't look at them in isolation. Let me tell you why I feel that way. The budget deficit is like in a business. You've got revenue and expenses. If we just cut our expenses and don't grow top-line revenue, guess what? We're going to eventually cut our expenses to the point where, unless we can grow top-line, we're actually cutting into our own seed corn, and will not be able to generate GDP at the level that we would want to have it. So we need to look at growth. I wish that when the president put the fiscal commission in place, they would have said, I also want you to look at this. I want you to look at what do we need to do to grow the United States of America again. I hope that that's part of his address on January 25th of this year. So that's first. Now let me come back to GDP. As I said, GDP is an important metric only at the macro level. It does not ensure any growth of IEW, and that's not the International Electrical Workers. That's individual economic well-being. Let me say that again. It's individual economic well-being. GDP does not translate to a guarantee of growth of well-being for individuals in this country. If it did, what we have seen over the past few years is, past 2 to 3 decades, I actually would say, GDP has been relatively good, 3% range, 3.4% range, but we've started redistributing wealth, and everybody knows that, and I don't need to go into the statistics. We have actually increased economic insecurity in the United States of America at the same time that we've had relatively good GDP. So we need to have two metrics. We have to have GDP and IEW. And the IEW has to be fundamental and center. We also have to, we also have to, could we go back one, Rita? Good. The other thing we have to have is what I call 21st century citizenship, and that is we need to play in the 3I League. 3 I's are, we need to be independent, even though we're all Democrats. I consider myself a good Democrat. But we need to be independent and informed. That's the second I. We need to do our own research. We need to advocate. If our elected officials are standing for something that we don't feel is right, or if the party's advocating, then we should be able to say, as citizens, we don't agree with you on this point. We want you to change course. That's an important part. And then we need to get involved. And we can't get involved in every area. But we need to select the issues that matter to us, and we need to stand foursquare. And if education in the state is an issue, the future of education in the state, if fair districting is an issue, then we need to, as citizens, get involved. Not just as Democrats, but as good citizens. That's fundamental to what I call 21st century citizenship. At a national level, I've kind of foreshadowed, I would like to see us have a national commission to look at put together a strategic plan. Now, that sounds kind of wonky, but we need a plan to give the nation an advantage, because there's no multinational corporation, and I don't call them multinational corporations, I call them global corporations. They owe their allegiance to no country. If they are not putting together plans to turn the United States of America around. If we don't have a commission taking that perspective, saying what do we need to do, then we will be sitting here in 20 years wondering what hit us, and I wish we would have been doing this a decade ago. So we need a commission, and we need an enhanced regional planning. The one thing, being from Chicago and Sarasota, being in Sarasota right now, I can say I'm glad to see that we're now doing much more regional economic development planning, and it's not just about building buildings, and it's not just about hospitality. It's about looking at manufacturing. It's looking at the aging population here as an advantage. Looking at our cultural resources as an advantage. Looking at our healthcare resources. This region has tremendous resources that could be that it looks like we're starting to turn into new plans, but we need to have a plan at the national level and at the regional level as well. One more slide, and then I'll wrap it up. And what do we need to do? We need the commission. I think the commission needs to do a rigorous SWOT analysis. There's a lot of good work that's been done, and it's come from every point on the political spectrum. So we need to look at that data. We need to analyze it, and I want to focus in on the third bullet point here is we need to have an innovation and infrastructure and a reindustrialization policy for the United States of America. A lot of people are calling for that. I think it's going to have. I believe that we're going to get one. I think it has to be at the centerpiece of whatever we do in terms of competitive advantage. And if we do those things, then I think we can have a plan that we could start becoming energized about, fired up and ready to go, if that's the current term of art. But I would like to see us having town halls to discuss these issues, having people coming to these town halls and saying, well, what are we going to do to put our oar in the water? And let me leave you with a couple of thoughts, and I'm going to circle back to the Tea Party. And one is, the first thought is, I want to just say one thing, and that is that the future is promised to no one. Let me say that again. The future is promised to no one. And even if you're a believer in American exceptionalism, at some point, the exceptional can become unexceptional. And we're poised at a point, I believe, in this decade, that we have to confront this reality that times are changing, we have to be prepared to change, and we need, as citizens, to be at the forefront of that change, working with our elected officials. And I started with a quote from John Kennedy, and I want to end with a quote from John Kennedy as well. And it's going to bring me to the Tea Party for 1 minute. John Kennedy said, "We are not afraid to entrust the American people with unpleasant facts, foreign ideas, alien philosophies, and competitive values. For a nation that is afraid to let its people judge the truth and falsehood in an open market is a nation that is afraid of its people." What I've seen over the past 2 years is a group that is afraid and that wants to take America back. We don't need to take America back. We need to take America forward. And I think that if those of us who in this room who feel that way, feel strongly enough about it, will do that, and we will maintain and regain our competitive advantage. Thank you.